Hello everyone, I want to chime in very briefly on the discussion around the recently announced changes to Oracle Priest. As expected, Blizzard nerfed the Power Word Shield absorb value, as well as making some, perhaps more unexpectedly, changes to Penance, as well as shuffling some Atonement values around. I think that from just looking at these changes, it can be somewhat difficult to directly infer what they mean in a throughput scenario. So in order to more clearly delineate what actually changes with these changes, we are going to look at an example and see what comes out if we calculate the changes based on this healing example. This is an Operation Floodgate dungeon played at level 12 at the 99th healing percentile, so definitely done rather competently, but also not pushing at a super high level and not being extremely optimized. We look at the different contributions of different spells to the overall healing output, and we can see that Power Word Shield in this scenario contributed around 23.24%. In an ideal world, every one of these shields is empowered by a full Penance cast, so 7 stacks of Weal and Woe if Penance is cast in combat. And so every one of these shields would have a value of 170% of base value. The new value with the nerfs would be only 135%, because 7 stacks of Weal and Woe times 5% add up to 135. So we compare this, we go 135 over 170. That's about a 20% reduction in overall healing throughput. We multiply this with our contribution, which is 23.24%. Now the Power Word Shield would only contribute 18%, and we would subtract the 23.24% for an overall reduction in effective healing of 4.8%. However, I think this scenario is not realistic. Not every one of your Power Word Shields is empowered by a Penance cast. For one thing, due to rotational inefficiencies, so you cast your Power Word Shield, then you cast your Penance in the next global, and then you're kind of stuck. Your Power Word Shield isn't ready yet, so you cast Smite, and Smite consumes the Weal and Woe stacks. Your next shield will not be empowered. Also, sometimes you may want the additional damage from Smite over the empowerment of the Power Word Shield. So I think a more realistic scenario for the non-super sweaty optimized player would be, let's say, half of your Power Word Shields are fully empowered by a complete Penance at a 170% value. This would mean that the average shield in the non-nerfed scenario is a 135% value, and in the nerfed scenario it would be a 117.5% value. So we go 117.5 over 135, which is about a 13% reduction. We multiply this by the healing contribution and subtract the healing contribution from the new value, arriving at an overall effective healing reduction of about 3.01%, just from the shields nerf in isolation. Then we have a Penance nerf. Penance contributed here 16.47%. Penance nerf is a flat nerf of 15%, so we can just 16.47. We have a new contribution of around 14%, subtract the old value. We can see that the Penance nerf would in this scenario decrease the overall healing by around 2.47%. Then Penance nerfs will also affect the overall Atonement healing. In this scenario, Penance contributed for 22.7% of my damage. However, we need to take into account that the Bursting Light Shard and Mr. Pick Me Up do not contribute to Atonement healing, so let's just take them out real quickly. 550 million damage, minus 121.62, minus 54.04, so we got an overall damage of 374 million, and now 124.9, which is the Penance damage, over 374. Penance contributes a roughly 33% of our Atonement healing, and now we multiply this with 0.85, so 15% reduction. It would now contribute only 28%, and this makes up for, or minus 0.33, about a roughly 4.5% reduction of Penance impact on the Atonement healing. However, Atonement healing then itself contributes only to 21.25%, so we go 0.95, let's say 5% reduction times 21.25. is 20.2 minus 21.25. And we get an additional reduction due to the reduced damage of Penance of around 1.06%. Now we got the Atonement changes, which may be the most difficult to sort of immediately calculate. So as there's an overall reduction of damage being done converted into healing. Before it was 32%, now it's 28%. And this is offset by an increase of Atonement healing in dungeons. So before Atonement is 200% effective, now to 25% effective. Note that this is an increase of 12.5%, not an increase of 25%, because this new the baseline is already 200%. What this means is that we can now multiply the 28, which is the new value of Atonement healing, times 1.125, so times 12.5%, which is 31.5. Previously we had 32, so there's a slight nerf to healing based on this shuffling around as well from the Atonement value. So 0.5% less of damage is converted into Atonement healing, making Atonement healing roughly 1.5% less effective. And if we take this into account, so Atonement is 21.25% of our overall damage, and we go 0.985 times 21.25 and minus 21.25, so we got roughly a decrease in Atonement healing of 3.2%. So these are the changes. We add them up. We go 3.01 plus 2.47 plus 1.06 plus 0.332 for a roughly that's a mistake. Sorry. So 3.01 plus 2.47 plus 1.06 plus 0.32, a roughly 6.68% reduction in overall healing throughput of Oracle Priest based on this scenario, which I think has been in order. Oracle Priest throughput has been rather oppressive. I think that the changes to the Power Word Shield will somewhat reduce its power, but its main advantage in providing effective HP to its team members is still present, but perhaps these changes will more strongly put into focus the main weakness of Oracle Priest, which is its lack of damage contribution, and maybe create a discussion around, do we want to take an Oracle Priest for the extra safety, or do we rather have a Mistweaver Monk for additional damage? I think from a pure throughput perspective and the advantage that Oracle Priest already has, these changes don't make a big difference. It will still be a very viable spec, it will still be very strong. Oracle Priest was in a position to easily take a 7% reduction in overall throughput and still be very good in terms of the safety that it provides for its group. And I think the Weal and Woe nerf does not sufficiently impact the main advantage of Oracle Priest in providing effective HP to its team members in such a way that it would no longer be viable. If you found this video helpful, insightful, or otherwise entertaining, please leave a like, give me a subscription. If not, thank you for watching anyway, and see ya.